Well, hello, friends, and welcome to the From Busy to Rich podcast, where we help financial advisors grow their businesses beyond the products they sell and the assets they manage to increase profitability and reclaim their time by providing strategies and insights that will not only change your life, but your practice. With me, as always, host Wes Young. Wes, it's great to see you today.
You too, Justin.
And I'm really excited, so we'll just dive right in because we do have a special guest and some treat in store for you today. So with that, Wes, will you introduce who's here today who clearly raises the bar in terms of emotional maturity as an average of our group?
Yeah, of this group, definitely the most emotionally mature person on here. So, no, I'm excited. I'm excited for a couple reasons. Is I get to do a lot of the question asking today, and so that's fun for me. And I'm excited about our guest, my friend Alicia Byers. We actually met. I have a couple really good friends that use her services, that have been deeply helped by her, and so I just love getting to know how she works and what she does. And so I'm excited for our audience today because they're going to get a lot of wisdom, a lot of good nuggets and knowledge. And so, Alicia, if you would, I'd love it if you tell everybody what you do on a day-to-day basis out there with advisors.
Well, first, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. Second, I am a business strategist for financial advisors. So I have a coaching background, but really landed on how do we strategically move the business, not just reactively, but on purpose. And what we do, I believe, is really complementary to one another. We're trying to help advisors level up, but in a way that's authentic to them. You know, your brand isn't just your logo, it's who you are, it's what your experience is that you give clients. So I help advisors and teams and general offices get that done amongst their group.
I love that. There's what people on the show hear this all the time, but it deeply is a part of who I am. That quote by Stephen Pressfield from The War of Art, where he says, most of us have two lives, the life we lived and the unlived life within us. And between those two stands resistance. And I see the role of people who do strategy, coaching, and really the role of what we try and do through Transform and this podcast is I want people to live that unlived life within them. I want them to really think about and not just do life as you were talking about, like by default, because you said they're putting out fires, they're busy, they're successful even in some cases, but they're not really doing it by design. And so what designing the future that you want and really wrestling with that and then saying, okay, in light of where I am, what are the things I need to do that are going to help me move the needle the most? Because as you know, there are hundreds of thousands of possibilities out there. So how do you narrow that down and how do you get going? So what are some of the things that you run into on a frequent basis that you see show up that, man, if you're talking to an advisor who's listening today, who kind of finds himself in that spot, who's like, man, I know better is possible. And I just am trying to figure out where to start. Tell me about some of the things you see.
So I think what comes up a lot is an honest reflection of, I don't like the business I'm working for. And oh, by the way, I created that business that I don't like working for.
Yeah, I don't like
it's
working
like,
for me right now.
I don't like it, but I also made it. But just this constant pressure of like, I know I need to overhaul things, but I also have to make money today.
Yeah.
So how do I ebb and flow, make money, but rebuild? And I think just knowing more is available.
Yeah.
And it's not here yet. So that comes up a lot I really want to enjoy my job. I also want to do things that reflect me. I want to be known for more than what I sell.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the benefits of Transform is you kind of create these pockets for advisors to differentiate. I'm not just here for product or even just a service. I want to be known for more than what I sell, which is why the language that you provide. And that's some of the customization that I push my clients to do as well is you don't just come and have a script. That's probably why you're kind of at war with how you're showing up every day is because it's not you showing up. It's your physical body, but what's coming out isn't reflective of you, your values. And I think some advisors can be resistant to push to that place, whether it's a niche or a language or a core value. And I'm all for push to that place, find your people, find the clients that are there for that. They'll stay for that.
That's awesome. what I love is like that tapping into giving them the freedom to be authentic and to say what do I think is valuable out there. Like what are some of the like processes and strategies you use to kind of help them get that clarity of really even the starting point, right? It's like who do you want to be? Like how do you do that? What are some of the exercises you work?
One of the things that I really focus on with all of my clients that really move my whole practice towards this client experience. And what do you want to give to your clients? How are you going to show up to do that? And so to start, I just have people write out what is your normal client experience from first impression all the way through advocacy. And maybe we find that you don't have any advocates. Clients are not turning into advocates.
Yeah.
And what we usually find, that simple awareness exercise, tell me about meetings 1 through 5. Then tell me about your engagement strategy. And I feel a little bad because sometimes I ask all these questions and there's a lot of gaping holes there.
Yeah.
It's just a lack of definition, a lack of structure and system. And so it's really hard to even know what to pivot. And so usually when I'm coming alongside people, they will listen to a cool podcast, they'll attend kind of a celebration with whatever organization they're in, they'll be inspired. They won't adopt it in practice and put a
Yep.
system to it, equip their team. They'll just kind of off to the races. So in the beginning, I really start with defining where we're at today.
I love that. And that is exactly what when we're teaching advisors, it's like, okay, what is your normal right now? Like you've got to start there, right? Because it's very difficult to change or to even just without knowing where you're coming from. We always, in fact, in our process that we teach, we call it the location phase. And that's really about you can't get where you want to go till you first understand where you at relative to where you're trying to go. And I think all of our listeners would not, this isn't too big of a jump. This isn't rocket science in that if you're lost in a public place, you go around looking for a directory because on the directory it's got a little red dot, and that little red dot says 3 precious words to a lost person. It's like you're here, you're here, and then it gives you all the options like relative to where you want to go. But that starting point's so critical. And I want to come back to a word I heard you say that I think is also core to what we want them to create in their client experiences is this word advocates. Um, there are millions of classes and books written on how do you get meetings, how do you go out there and get new people to have conversations with. And one of the things we talk a lot about, and I'd love to get your kind of thinking on this, is what if you had a process that made asking for referrals irrelevant? Because people were asking to meet with you. Because as I see like our process, you kind of got these 3 levels of person that you can have a first meeting with. You've got people that are super intrigued. You've got people that are tolerant, and you got people that are actually resistant. And early days, I get it. You're taking meetings with every person you can possibly have, and you have to have a lot of those meetings with resistant people. But if you could have an endless stream of people that were knocking on your door, asking to meet because somebody that already worked with you said, "Hey, you really should reach out to Wes because the experience I've had, here's something they did for me," and they're going, "Hey, I'm not doing. So and so said that you did this for them. I'd love to learn more about what you do." You would want that. And so, to your point, are they getting that with their current process? And what is the process? And then how's that working for you, as Dr. Phil would say, right? So I'd love you to talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to it, good is forgettable.
Mhm.
There is nothing memorable about a good experience. And getting what you expect is also forgettable.
Yeah.
Frankly, if I'm giving you a fee, I'm expecting a service. So I'm not going to be wowed by getting exactly what I paid you for.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we get hung up with, well, I can't gift people because I have compliance. I just think it's a lie. You're
Yeah.
thinking one lane. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about sending, I worked with a realtor once, and she literally would take her clients in a helicopter ride to look at their new property.
Wow.
Insane. Cost-wise, actually not much more expensive than a big gift basket. But
Yeah.
what was that? Incredibly memorable. Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. So what we started to see, she started being shared all over the place, all over the place. But in this advisor space, I think good is forgettable. Unless you are willing to do something memorable, I think your clients are just forgetting about you.
Yeah.
What's expected? I expect you to call every year for an annual review.
Mhm.
What is unexpected is you're just calling on the end of at the end of November because you know I have a college kid who might be coming home for Christmas. And oh, by the way, in that conversation, I let you know he has a job now and he's squandering his money. And you're there. Why don't you send him in? I'll meet with him 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We went from engaging, checking in without an agenda to new opportunity.
Love that.
You
Love
know,
that. It reminds me of something that I did just the other day, and it was more because somebody did it for me. And we had a client, they got a new dog, and the reason I know they got a new dog is because the dog kept jumping up in the middle of our Zoom conversation and barking and stuff like that. And they were like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I said, "Oh, don't worry about it." They go, "It's a puppy. We just got him." And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Well, what's his name?" And they told me, and then we kind of go on with the meeting, and then afterwards, I have a coffee mug in my where we keep all our mugs with a kind of a French bulldog, because that's what I have, with his name on it. And I thought, so I went to Amazon, and for $5, I could send them a mug with it. And you would have think I sent them a suitcase full of money. The amount of it was like, oh, this is so cool. But it's paying attention, right? And having a checklist of things that you can automate this stuff too, where it doesn't have to be like
yes.
some guy. I guarantee we got some advisors listening. Go, I don't think that way. I'm not, and you don't have to, and you don't even have to
No.
does it, but you can have automation on your team that allows for these wow experiences, or just something where, boy, that's different. I haven't ever seen that before.
Unique. And I know you use Working Genius, and I did that through Transform, which is amazing. I use the Clifton Strengths on my side.
Yeah.
And one of the exercises I do in a class that I teach called the Experience Effect is I have everyone do their profiles, and we build wow moments based off of your natural strength set.
Yeah.
So if you lead with strategic thinking, you are likely not going to get feely and think of those kind of more sentimental gifts. But
Yeah.
boy, you can spreadsheet really well. You can come up with a cool design. You can give value through education. So maybe your wow process is every other month, you find a resource that you found encouraging or educational, and you send it to 10 people and you call, hey, I'm
Yeah.
sending you something. You came to my mind when I read this. If we can
Yeah.
start having triggers and associations with our natural gifting to serve and support our clients, we're going to see those advocates come without a doubt. I mean, it's just going to be a natural byproduct. And our language does that too. I know you
Yeah.
have, and that's something you teach in Transform, is mastery of language. We'll
Mhm.
find that people will hear something out. I say out in the wild. You'll hear
Yeah.
something out of the wild. Walmart is the wild, but you'll hear something and it will trigger, oh my gosh, my advisor says that all the time. That's like their phrase that they say.
Yeah.
But if we're only talking product policy service planning, we
You
just
bet.
don't let that opportunity happen.
Love that. There's something, just talking about another simple things that really have a deep impact, I think, is quotes, right? Just you can, with clients, you're spending time preparing for a meeting anyway. What if you added to your checklist a thing that says, what quote do you think would embody a characteristic of this client that you value? And then you go to brainyquote.com, you type in whatever that is, and you'll get like 50 different quotes, and you can grab one and go, hey, I came across this quote and it made me think about you. And it's just a different way, in addition to be great at the core stuff, and that's table stakes,
Yes.
but just add a little. It doesn't take. We're not talking about like a massive amount of effort here. It's just a check. And if you're super analytical and you're like, I follow this, and the only time you cry is when a math problem goes wrong on your spreadsheet. And I love you. I'm glad you exist out there, but put it on your spreadsheet to say, look up quotes, and you can put one in the spreadsheet even, and remind yourself of, hey, when I'm with this client, this is something I really do think embodies them. So I love that extra touch.
Something that you just said, we talk about our natural giftedness, but I hope that you're in the industry because you want to serve people. So remember, your clients are coming to the table with their own set of gifts. And so part of your role as a service provider is to know and acknowledge who's across the table from you. You may think, I'm not going to do that, send that. That's fine. Are you okay not speaking the language of your client? Do
That's
you think that
awesome.
that's going to meet their expectation?
Yeah.
Right. And so what we're going to see is in that kind of, I teach it like a puzzle piece, the first impressions, engagement, retention, and advocacy, because if we're missing one of those, we just give our clients an incomplete picture.
Yeah. So say those again, because that's important. I want everybody to hear how she breaks these down.
So the client experience, I say, is 4 pieces. We've got first impressions. So that's anywhere from like digital footprint through onboarding the first 5 days of your client. Engagement. So this is your ongoing engagement and communication strategy.
Yep.
Retention. So this is where annual reviews fall. These are the things that you're doing that retain clients for years. And then advocacy. Unfortunately, if we are not mastering engagement, we're going to see retention fall off because we're not engaging our clients.
Yeah.
And conversely, we're not going to know that we're not retaining our clients because we're not engaging with them. So we're just going to be like, well, my book's dead. Whoa. How engaged are you with your book? Are you showing up for your clients? Are you just there to sell?
Right. I love that. And I think, one is all of us can be better at all of these things. And when you're kind of doing the analysis or the location phase with these clients and you're thinking in those terms, you're able to say, hey, so let's talk about what your experience in all of these areas are. I think a couple things happen. One is they're probably already aware of some things as soon as they say it, that like, yeah,
Not the
we
best.
we don't do a great job there. But then the benefit, I think, of working with someone like you, that is you can grab, it's like, because sometimes they're like, well, I don't know what else to do. You're like, well, I've got a history working with all these other great advisors, and who does this well? Here's how they do it. And they can then take that, so you don't have to invent the way. You can borrow a way that's already working well for someone else, and without somebody that's doing what you're sitting in the seat you sit in, you just have to go try and find it and invent it. And why make this harder than it needs to be?
Exactly. Something that comes up a lot too is when we push, and we see this in every area. If I'm going to try and run further today than I did yesterday, I'm going to feel that 10% further. It's going to feel heavy because it's more than I've done. So when we talk about implementing changes in our client experience, I like to relate it to putting on like stage makeup. If you've ever done a production or gone to the theater, if you're kind of up close, if you're putting it on, it feels really heavy and like out of this world and dramatic. But you have to consider your clients are like the people in the audience. Their
Yeah.
experience of what you're providing isn't going to feel like that. We want them to notice the effects of it, but just be aware if you're not pushing to that place where it feels a little like, wow, I'm really having to assert myself here.
Yeah.
You might need to push a little bit further because it's just probably falling flat for your clients if you're not adding that level of intentionality to every single touch point with clients.
Yeah. And Alicia, I want to ask you a question on, because we spend a lot of time talking about this in to our audience here, but also in Transform. That I think is something you brought up earlier. It's kind of like in change, because everybody's got a normal way of doing things. That's kind of what you dissect first, is what is your normal, and all the things we're talking about to make something better involves new. It involves something they're not yet doing, or in some cases stopping doing that they've been doing, and change is like remodeling a house while we're trying to live in it. It's messy, it's inconvenient, and it's actually sometimes in the beginning less effective than if we just left it alone, because we're not great at it yet. We haven't polished it, we haven't iterated it, and and I've got a lot of thoughts around this. But what are some of the things that you do, or you encourage your clients to do, that don't just make these like great ideas? They go to a conference, they got a great idea, they read a book, they listen to this podcast, got a great idea, and then it never goes from ideation to like, I'm actually going to organize and do this thing until it's good. What are some of the tips? Got any tips and tricks out there for me?
Yeah, and what's funny is I think operating a business in chaos is a rhythm and routine. It's just one of chaos. And so when I see chronic like learners, to put it that way, they're learning, they're absorbing new ideas, they're thinking strategically, chaos is their default, and that feels really good. So a lot of times when I'm stepping into that space, I'm usually going to say, "Okay, I want you to dump for me right now every single thing you want to change." Great. Now we're going to put 99% of those away, and I want you to do this one thing for 4 weeks. We'll see how that goes. Instead of trying to overhaul the whole thing,
Yeah.
they've got the energy. But again, if your normal is chaos and that's how you've trained yourself to run a business,
Yeah.
4 weeks, you're probably throwing wrenches in everything because that's how you run a business is chaos. So I think identifying your natural patterns, rhythms, and routines. I also think surrounding yourself with people who are doing it well and the right team.
Love it.
Knowing I don't naturally show up in this consistent discipline. In Clifton Strengths, you've got discipline and consistency. Those are way at the bottom for you. I'm not saying you can't improve those, but there's probably somebody you're surrounded with that's going to be an exceptional help to you if this is really important to you. So I think surrounding yourself with the right people, identifying your natural rhythm and routine, figuring out where that goes in, and then slashing those ideas and kind of earning the right to pursue the rest. Earn the right to pursue the rest through consistent habits and action.
Yeah, there's a Winston Churchill quote that I really like. It says, "The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty." And I think when you are, that outside being able to observe and really have them see where they are and kind of the life that they're living, understanding it is not the life that they want to live. Relative, you want to get here, here's some of the things that are, issues. Here's some of the difficulties, but there's opportunity in us seeing those because we can actually create something really beautiful if we get the right team member in place, we get the right system, the right process that don't have to make you become what you're not, but you certainly need to understand, how am I getting in my own way to getting what I ultimately think I want?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, a couple things as we wrap up here for today. If you could go and tell that advisor that's in that place and they know they want to get better, they know better's possible. What is a way that they can, like, your process in like beginning the exploration process with somebody? How do you go about like that first sit down meeting or that meeting to go, hey, let's explore where you are, what you think you want. Tell me about the process for that and how they get in contact with you to do that.
Yeah, so the process for that is going to be done the most easy way is going to be to just reach out to me directly.
Okay.
And so I will be sure you have my email. And that process is really, I sit and I listen. I usually ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I usually try and get to the bottom of what do you really want in what time frame. I
Yep.
try my best to be really realistic about what I think is possible. Overhauling an entire advisory practice in yesterday's terms,
Yeah.
probably not realistic.
Right.
Although that's usually when I meet people are like, yeah, yesterday. So, let's
Yeah.
go.
That's right.
So emailing me just to get some 30 minutes together. I like to learn a whole lot and just be realistic with what I think is possible and the pathway to get there. I do all custom work on a one-to-one basis. As far as teams, I come in with a partner and we handle teams together. And then as far as large group, study group stuff, email as well. I've got that curriculum. I mentioned the experience effect that I provide to home offices, general offices, and study groups just to go through it. I've got a workbook that has a lot of tools and resources. And so that's a really simple conversation, just getting clear quickly and getting started doing the work.
We'll make sure that your email's in the show notes. You want to just say it? Can you say that as well? And we'll.
Yeah, absolutely. The easiest is Alicia at byersstrategygroup.com. Alicia at byersstrategygroup.com.
Awesome. And we'll link to it in the show notes as well. Alicia, thank you for taking the time today to be on the show with us. This has been great, and love the nuggets that have come out of it, and look forward to having you back on again.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. We'll see you later.